Hi, Sandra here, the Misophonia therapist. So today's video is just a little roundup of coping strategies. So if you have misophonia, you've probably tried many things, and it's important to remember that not everything will work for everybody. Misophonia is a complex condition that is still not widely understood, and there are many factors that might underlie it or exacerbate it. But the following might be helpful for you, and I will offer my own take on these suggestions. So number one is avoidance. So you could try to avoid or limit your exposure to the specific sounds that trigger you. Now, of course, this works for some people, but realistically, how practical is it for you? And it's fine if your misophonia is fairly mild, but if you're triggered by many different things, it might prove to be slightly impractical. Now, if your triggers include people eating or breathing, particularly the people you live with, it could make your life challenging trying to avoid them. And if you feel triggered mostly by being in noisy places, for example, restaurants, then it could be maybe slightly easier to adapt because you don't have to go to very noisy places if you don't want to. Avoidance can mean restricting your life, of course, and not being with the people you love, or you may keep running away, moving house, changing jobs, always trying to escape. Number two is noise cancelling headphones or earbuds. So use noise cancelling headphones, obviously, to block out or decrease the volume of the sounds that trigger you. And these have helped many people, many sufferers, but of course there's the risk that you may end up feeling shut off from everyday life and normal interaction with others, or just normal everyday sounds that wouldn't ordinarily bother you. And many people with misophonia feel lonely and isolated, but headphones can help you get some peace if your triggers are only occasional or in certain settings rather than constant. And number three is distraction. So you could try to distract yourself by focusing on something else, such as a book, listening to music, or a hobby. And this is a good technique, although it does take practice. Remember that at the heart of misophonia is an oversensitive amygdala, and that is your little fight or flight mechanism in the brain. It might be processing sounds as risky or threatening, when in reality they just aren't. So if you imagine the trigger sound as being the approach of a hungry saber-toothed tiger, how easy would it be to realistically distract yourself from it? And of course, logically, you know it's not really a tiger, but your fight or flight button doesn't. So avoiding, distracting, or blocking, it's all the same thing at the end of the day. This won't get to the root of the misophonia trigger, and you could spend a lot of your life running away, blocking, avoiding. So number four, exposure to the noise. And again, some people may find that that is helpful. It does form the basis of a particular type of therapy aimed at people with misophonia. I myself don't practice exposure therapy. It certainly isn't for everybody. And again, why would you want to expose yourself to something that might be a threat, even though logically you know it isn't? Number five, acceptance. And this is very hard for a lot of people, and there is some truth that actively resisting something can really ramp up the anxiety in the nervous system. And in my work with people with misophonia and tinnitus, this tactic has been helpful, but it isn't for everybody. And again, it requires practice, and other factors need to be in place, such as just reducing anxiety in the nervous system. And that brings us to number 6, relaxation techniques. You could practice different types of technique, such as deep breathing, meditation, yoga, to help calm your body as well as your mind in response to the trigger sound. So for those with anxiety as well as misophonia, and believe me, it's very common, these techniques can really help to calm the nervous system, entering the parasympathetic state. But again, how relaxed can your amygdala be when it really believes there's a saber-toothed tiger every time you get triggered? And again, it's not logical or rational. Number 7, therapy. Of course, you could consider seeing a therapist. They can help you to develop coping strategies and work through any underlying emotional issues. Some people find CBT to be helpful, or counselling, or hypnotherapy. There are millions of therapists out there, and a further million different types of therapy. The feeling can be overwhelming when you're looking for someone to help you specifically. And number 8, consider getting help from a therapist who specialises in misophonia or who has treated it before. A person who understands that it is not necessarily the sound that is the problem or how loud it is. It's what the sound represents, and that, quite simply, is a risk to your safety at the end of the day. That is the underlying subconscious driver, and it comes out in various ways. Run, hide, distract, hit out, feel frustration and anger, especially when it dawns on you that the more you try to control the trigger, the more anxious and frustrating it can be. And finally, remember that people do cope and adapt, so don't lose heart. Many people do respond well to all of these strategies, or just some of them, and to therapy. It's a case of trial and error and patience and persistence a lot of the time. So just consider what you are prepared to sacrifice in other areas of your life to stay free from the trigger, if avoidance is your thing. And as ever, if you have any questions, just DM me or email me. And if you're enjoying my content and you're finding it helpful, please do subscribe. Click the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, or follow me for other platforms. Many thanks for your time. Bye-bye.